Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spoki YouTube channel. I'm Mariah, Global Alliance Manager, responsible for the integration of technology partners here at Spoki. And I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Hello, Maria, and good morning, everyone. I'm Davide, and I'm the partner manager here at Spoki. I define myself a bit like the man who builds bridges, between our technology and our partners. Giacomo, I'll pass the microphone to you so you can also introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Giacomo, a developer from the Artificial Intelligence team, who today, along with Davide and Maria, will show you the new agents section in Spoki.
Right, let's do a little introduction just to go back from what we've presented so far to what we've been presenting in the last few days with all the new features. As we know, in this artificial intelligence section, we had two pre-configured agents, one for sales and one for customer care. The new thing is that now we can have an ecosystem, practically, of agents, each with a well-defined purpose. We also have the ability to connect external tools, not just e-commerce platforms, but any other type of external system. And also the ability to create a completely custom agent from scratch with the help of a prompt generator that Giacomo will now show us, which helps us to structure a very, very detailed prompt. So, Giacomo, if you want, we can start sharing the screen and see this new section, all the new features.
The section has been redesigned because, well, now that we're giving you the ability to create an entire fleet of agents, you're immediately shown, let's say, an overview of the agents that have been created and are available. Specifically, the section is divided into 4 tabs. The first is for the agents, the second is for the documentation that we upload for the agents themselves, the third is for the instruments, tools, and integrations that the agents can use, and finally, a report tab on the usage of the agent itself. To create an agent, the first thing to do is define the problem that the agent needs to solve. So we thought that a good example when it comes to creating an agent could be a travel agency that wants to automate a whole series of processes, providing information for clients, and let's say communication about passports, choosing travel destinations. And so we'll create what will be an assistant for the trip itself. Now, every time we go to define an agent, we always have to ask ourselves if that agent needs specific, detailed information, and if it needs some specific tools to operate at its best. So the first thing we're going to do is define what the agent needs to know to be able to perform its role. Here we have a section dedicated to all the documents that the agent, or rather that all our agents can have at their disposal. And we can add a document by clicking the button. Now, there are 3 ways to add, let's say, information to the agent itself. The first is via a page from a website. The second is manually by adding written documentation. And the third is by uploading a document. So, for example, in the case of a web page, we can enter the URL of the web page here, and the agent, let's say, will analyze the web page and download its content. Alternatively, for adding text manually, what we can do is first add a descriptive and meaningful title to the document. This will be extremely useful for us to remember with clarity and precision exactly what this particular text is about, the content and the details within this specific document in the knowledge base section. By providing a clear and informative title, we make it much easier to identify and recall the purpose and subject matter of the document later on, especially when searching or referencing it in the future. Alternatively, the last box is for uploading a file, uploading it in PDF, PNG, JPEG format, and you can see all the available formats here. And in this case, I already have 2 documents, 2 PDFs, that represent the information that I want the agent to have. So I can click here and go to the... To begin, you need to select a document from your available files or resources, and so this is, I can call it, a knowledge base agent, which essentially means it is an intelligent system that can access, retrieve, and provide information from the selected document whenever you need it.
To put it simply, what we're doing now is uploading the information. So let's say we're filling the brain of this artificial intelligence agent with all the information or all the knowledge it needs to have, from which it must feed itself to then communicate and respond.
Exactly, exactly. So, as you said, we have to instruct it. So we have to give it all the necessary information. In this case, I know that I'm going to call the agent Pippo our travel agent, so I can just go ahead and write that this is the knowledge base for the agent Pippo. I'll add the document, and I can also add another one, which are the documents related to all the documents, visas and permits needed to access all non-EU countries. And so, extra EU info, Pippo.
As you were saying, we first give it a purpose. In this case, the purpose is a travel agent. So, being a travel agent, this agent will need to have information to create, propose, or recommend these trips to you. To have this information, it needs to have the knowledge you're uploading now about, as you said, by country, by type of trip, and so on, all the characteristics it needs to be able to respond.
Exactly, exactly. So, especially when we know that the general knowledge an agent might have isn't enough for it to do its job, it's essential to make sure the agent works correctly by, let's say, manually providing
The information.
all the necessary information. Okay, so we can already see that the first document has been processed correctly. So now we'll wait for the second document to be processed as well.
Let's take advantage of the time while it's all loading. So right now we're using the example of Pippo, the travel agent, but obviously all of this can be applied to any sector, to any purpose or goal these agents might have, for travel, for restaurants, for direct sales with e-commerce and customer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, information, let's say that's necessary and very common, could be privacy policies, so the user information notice. It could be return policies for shops. It could be the ways in which user reports are categorized internally, the opening of tickets. So, for every problem that an agent has to deal with and solve, it will likely need ad hoc information that is specific, let's say, to the company the agent is working for, so to speak. Okay, so while this document is being processed, we could ask ourselves if Pippo needs to connect to specific integrations or if it needs to use particular tools to carry out its task. So what we can do is go to the integrations and tools section, add a tool, and here we can see the three categories of tools that we currently support. The integration tool is a direct integration, in this case with an e-commerce platform. So if we've developed a sales agent or a sales support agent, for returns, information on an order status, and so on, then we can connect the agent directly to Shopify or PrestaShop so that the agent can, let's say, autonomously manage and get all the information it needs from these e-commerce platforms. Alternatively, we can create a webhook. The idea with a webhook is to allow the agent to send and retrieve information to an external system. So we can imagine a CRM from which we can get information about a specific customer, or still on the CRM, we can create a ticket or update a case. Finally, we have an MCP connector, which represents, let's say, the most modern standard for exposing tools and external integrations to a Spoki agent. The strength of MCP is that it has now become, let's say, ubiquitous. Any agent and any, let's say, large server or service offers the ability to connect agents via MCP, and it allows us to, let's say, close the circle. So if with integrations, we have direct data collection from and to an e-commerce platform, and with the webhook, we have sending and receiving data. For example, with CRMs or generic services, the MCP allows us to implement any type of tool. So the ability to book a slot in a calendar, the ability to enter orders from scratch. So let's say with MCP, the only limit is the imagination of the person developing the tool itself. But in this case,
And Giacomo, this part here, these last two options are also a new feature. We were saying that since July, when we launched the agents feature, there was already the option to integrate an external e-commerce platform. But until a couple of weeks ago, we still couldn't connect to external systems to either send or receive data. Now, with the webhook option or with the MCP, we can do that as well.
exactly, that's why. Now, as for our travel agent, actually, I assume it doesn't need any external tools or integrations, so there's no need to create a new integration or a new tool for Pippo. So in the Spoki agent section, I can create a new agent and I'll create a custom agent. Why custom agent? Because it's an agent that gives me complete flexibility over the creation of the agent itself. In any case, the sales agent, so the sales agent or the customer agent, the agent for customers, are nothing more than, let's say, specializations of the custom agent. So you'll see that it's basically a guided custom agent. Okay, so at this point, we're in the section dedicated to creating the agent itself. And let's say the agent's creation goes through just a few steps. The first of which is the system prompt. The second is the temperature. Then we have the documents that, as mentioned, we introduced earlier. In addition, we have the tools and instruments the agent can use. And in case the agent doesn't know how to answer our request, we can also set a predefined default reply. So let's start right away by adding the documents. I can immediately link all the information regarding non-EU countries and the basic information the agent must have. After that, regarding the temperature is simply a parameter that determines how, let's say, predictable our agent is. Osteomatia. An agent with a very low temperature, what's called deterministic, is an agent that tends to respond in a very robotic, quite schematic way, but it tends to always stay on track. It doesn't take liberties by inventing information or similar things. This can be necessary, for example, for a post-sales support agent, or when opening tickets and so on, because we don't want the agent to be able to make up information. We want it to, let's say, always stay within the parameters I've created for it. A creative agent and an even more creative agent, on the other hand, are very effective for all areas where the agent needs to be engaging, warm, human, and, let's say, attractive to the end customer. So a sales agent, an agent for feedback, an agent for reviews, they could often benefit from higher temperatures. After that, we have the system prompt, which is simply the section where we'll enter the script that our agent will have to follow.
Sorry, one thing. Let me present this as a super new feature because it's not at all a given to have a prompt generator inside a platform. It's definitely a very important strength of all these new features and certainly an incredible help. And as you know, we've been working on these AI agents for a few months, and often the problem we found was that, rightly, as we've said many times, we're talking about fairly new technologies. And rightly so, not all companies have a prompt engineer or any type of specialized person in house. And so we often found ourselves having to help and support our customers a lot with this whole part of structuring the prompt to make sure the agent knew exactly how it should behave, what its limitations were, and so on. Now, we have a tool within this section, this system prompt, which is incredible because with a simple input, with a simple instruction or phrase, it can structure and create an entire draft prompt for you, which you can then go on to customize. Right?
Exactly, that's correct. In fact, precisely because it's often quite complicated to write a system prompt, we can use the button to generate it with artificial intelligence. And fundamentally, what we'll be asked to do is enter a brief description of what the agent will handle, and optionally connect the tools that we've connected to the agent, in this case, none, and also some optional support variables. And in fact, let's see right away how it works. Travel agent, we can card it. Travel agent, country suggestions, feedback. For example, a very brief description of what the agent will do. Here we'll enter, for example, the username, the company name, and optionally the user email. This way, every time the agent has to reply to the user, instead of calling them, for example, dear customer, it can actually call them by name and reply, on behalf of the company it's part of. And in this case, you click on generate. So the prompt is generated, and here you can see the entire prompt is generated for us. Obviously, the advice is to give it a quick read through so that if the prompt contains information that doesn't match what we expect, and or perhaps if there are pieces missing that we feel are necessary, we can always add them manually. In any case, I had previously created a prompt that I can go and insert at the top. And so now I have a prompt extremely detailed for our travel agent. I can create our agent straight away. Okay, perfect. I've created and saved the agent, and at this point I can go straight to testing its functionality with the playground button. In this section, I'll be interacting directly with the agent and I'll be able to test straight away. Let's say its capabilities and whether or not it's behaving in line with what I've written in the prompt. So here we can see this is the bot's response, and we can see straight away that it has actually suggested a whole series of different pieces of information.
This is definitely very interesting, isn't it, Giacomo? The ability to understand the source from which it is getting its information, each response. That way, if we see there's an error or that our agent is communicating some information that isn't correct, we can go straight to the document or the link or the information module where it's contained and modify it.
Yes, exactly. Correct? Okay, so here we can verify that the bot is providing all the information that I included in the documents I uploaded for its knowledge base. And that's it. So if we're satisfied with how our agent is behaving, we can go back. We can see our agent here. It's still a draft, but we can activate it. And from this moment on, all the incoming conversations on WhatsApp will be handled by our travel agent. So, with that said, I think I can pass the ball over to Davide, who will show you
how the agent actually behaves within conversations.
Yes, let's now have a look at what the POC would be, right? The view from a user experience level that the end user, the final interlocutor, would have directly from WhatsApp. How a client reads these responses from the agent, what a client sees when they receive these replies, these answers.
Great. In that case, I'll share my screen where we can get in touch with Pippo. And just to stress it again, this is a real use case. In this case, obviously, we're running a simulation now, but considering my focus on the partner acquisition channel and working quite transversely, this is an implementation we've recently done with some of our clients who work in the hospitality sector. Um, the agent that Giacomo has just created is able to speak in at least 3 languages according to the prompt it was given. In this case, I'll just do a simulation in English. In English, you'll notice there's also a name switch. So in this case, as you can see, the change is also related to the type of user the business wants to reach. Hippo might work well, with an Italian user base. In this case, we've used Gordon.
Because, Davide, that's the thing. For many of our clients who work internationally, or for anyone interested in these agents that work internationally, what you said is definitely very useful, being able to give it a name, an indication, depending on where it's going to work, or the country or the region where it might be working.
Yes, the idea behind using Spoki is to get to the heart of the client, the possible or potential client, and obviously to also create a comfort zone in terms of names, as well as the ways an AI agent can communicate. It certainly enriches the client's experience. In this case, the response our good travel agent gives us, by the way, also picking up on my cue, making the interaction even more human, is to clearly go and qualify what my request might be. And it also does it in a, let's say, quite humorous way somehow. Let's say that in this case, we choose our travel styles. I'll take it from personal experience, making the scenario the AI agent has to manage more complex.
So, as you were saying, it's not so much about making it difficult for the agent, but definitely putting it to the test with some specifics. And going back to what we were saying with Giacomo before, if we don't provide all this information, if we don't tell the agent how to handle a trip for a baby, for a 3-month-old baby, then rightly so, the agent can't know. So it's important that we give it this information, that we structure it well so that, as we can see on the screen now, the agent is able to reply with all the right information.
Definitely fundamental, both on the prompting side for how we want Gordon to react in this case, but also, and above all, its knowledge base, which needs to be analysed. Also, to pick up on that point, its replies are always very connected to everything I've argued, without neglecting any details. And it's not just geared towards, I'll suggest X. If you want it, fine. Otherwise, bye. You know, in this specific case, it's referencing what could be a suitable destination for the situation I provided. So it's already given me some proposals, picking up on my cue. About exotic, it mentions the Algarve, the Greek islands, Malta, and the Canaries. In any case, though, it continues to analyze my profile as a potential client because I've actually answered some questions, but I haven't talked about budget. I haven't given, details of that kind. And that's what we're going to do right now by also adding a further challenge regarding the destinations. Our budget is around €1,000 per week, which is the amount we are comfortable spending for our trip. We are looking to travel in the middle of May, as that would be the perfect time for us. We hope to find options that fit within our budget and suit our preferences. On top of that, we would really love to broaden our travel experiences by exploring some destinations that are located outside of Europe, as we are eager to discover new places and cultures beyond what we have already seen. In order to make sure that our plans go smoothly and that we are fully prepared for international travel, could you please let us know what specific documents Maya would need to have if we decide to visit countries outside of Europe? We want to ensure that we have all the necessary paperwork and information in advance. As well as giving it clarifications on the budget, I also went on to investigate things like travel permits, passports for a minor or for adults, which is a topic that in the hospitality sector, especially when we talk about trips outside the European Union, is definitely a hot one. In many cases, you see, some of our clients, obviously, besides managing the whole travel planning side, also take care of assistance with documents. So it's absolutely necessary information for the perfect organization of a trip, you know.
And as we were saying before, this is a theory that can be applied to any sector, meaning a travel agency will need to know what the rules are, what guidance they have to give for leaving the European Union. A restaurant will need to communicate, I don't know, intolerances, allergies, or an e commerce will need to communicate returns and available hours and special conditions. So it's applicable to any sector for any type of agent with any purpose we might want to create.
I absolutely agree. The idea is to have an AI agent that is effectively the expert in the sector where the company operates, but a 360-degree expert that guides the client towards perhaps the right choice. It doesn't matter if, as you mentioned, it's a product, a service, or a potential further area of business. It's mainly about guiding them in the right way to ensure it makes decisions based on tangible data. In this case, once Gordon has confirmed that the budget seems suitable for the destinations mentioned, it also gives me some references, like the fact that in my specific case, my daughter needs a valid passport for any trip outside of Europe. Let's try and get to the point a bit. Let's give it a destination. I don't know, guys, what do you suggest? Portugal, Greece, or I'd even say Turkey. I'll let you choose.
Well, let's let the AI expert choose. We can't always let the ladies choose.
Go on, Giacomo, name a destination.
Cappadocia could be a nice destination.
That seems perfect to me.
Then, while we finish this last part of the test, let's say we must always remember, I always say this, the importance of the psychology applied to all these technologies. When we start any conversation on WhatsApp, whether it's among us working on a platform that relies on WhatsApp or any person using WhatsApp, when we send that first message, right? When we do those, no, but I want to automate the abandoned car. I want to automate the welcome message. I want to send a campaign for a promotion. Absolutely. But let's remember that first message is what opens the conversation. And this conversation, depending on how we want to guide it, how we want to carry it forward, will bring us benefits. Or let's say it will lead us to establish a relationship with that client, with that user. So these agents are the key to one, responding immediately to that user, to that message that was sent that the client replied to. Two, being able to provide, as you can see, all the information, all the information that usually we, the company team using this platform, have in our heads and our knowledge. And by precisely educating, by transmitting all this information to a virtual agent, an AI agent, we can multiply our team members, multiply our knowledge base, multiply our reach to these clients and the speed of response to offer, as you're seeing, a user experience that is completely personalized, immediate, and complete.
I absolutely agree. Based on Giacomo's choice, I also delved a bit into give me some references on the experiences I can have there. So it's still about having the reference for the sale, because fundamentally, that's what it's about closing the loop. And in parallel with the sale, you can already offer possibilities for upselling and cross selling contextually. In the specific case of travel, it's certainly the flight plus hotel package, but also what can be local experiences where the agency, the tour operator has, total management. In this case, well, it suggests some destinations, or rather experiences to have in Cappadocia. It gives me a summary of the necessary documents, for instance, even going into the specifics for Turkey. It details the regulations based on the chosen country. All of this comes from the knowledge base that was previously uploaded, as Giacomo showed. And getting to the point, in this case, well, the purpose of this specific use case is certainly to guide the user in making a choice, but then to finalize this sale, let's say, with the human touch of a travel agent from the agency. Also, because clearly costs like flights are subject to fluctuations that can change, depending on whether you booked a minute earlier or later. So in this case, well, there's still a reference to the possibility of being contacted by an agent, and I'll ask for an appointment in that regard.
Also, because here too, let's remember all these actions we're talking about now, whether it's the AI agents, the campaigns, the automations, are activities we can automate within Spoki. But apart from all these automatic activities, rightly so, within Spoki, we can also have unlimited users. So if our team or company has 5, 10, 50, or 200 people, each of us can have our own little space, a user with a profile and a role within Spoki. This allows us to manage all these conversations on a human, real world level. And to handle this, let's say, hybrid management between the automated part and the human part of the users who work in our team and manage these conversations.
I completely agree. You couldn't have explained it better. In this last scenario, I asked to be called at 3. I gave my phone number. In this case, well, it's just a fictitious number, considering the test environment, that we're evaluating right now. And above all, Gordon's further response is also one of those personalized ones, because it refers back to, let's say, the destination we chose.
It's wonderful, I'd say. It's amazing.
Well, that's left is to pay for the trip. Exactly. But I think the experience, even the personal user experience, seems to be perfect. But a bit like you were saying, Maria, we've now taken a current use case that was recently implemented. But let's imagine, within an electronics e-commerce, maybe selling certain niche products, having someone who guides the user in their choice. But likewise for purchases too, I imagine, for example, other scenarios, like furnishing a house, having how can I put it, an interior designer completely managed via AI. The applications are varied.
Absolutely. And it's a job that can be done at any time of day. Because I always say, you absolutely can't replace human intervention, probably with a machine. But on a Saturday at midnight, after having dinner with friends, I go and lie down on the sofa, and for whatever reason, I want to buy some clothes. At 11 p.m., no one will answer me. No one will answer me. The agents will. The agents will give me all the answers, provide a checkout link to complete my order, and give me product recommendations. And so there you have it. So, all these possibilities that the agents offer allow any shop, any business to have customer care, to have a service for their clients that is completely personalized, immediate, and very thorough, as we've seen with these examples. Guys, let's do the final recap of this video to sort things up before we finish. What have we seen today? What we've seen is the difference in this AI section that we had since this summer compared to this new feature, the new layout, and the new features we have now within the section. As we've seen, that part, or that AI part, has been divided into the knowledge base, the tools that we can connect, and the reporting section. In the new feature, the big new feature regarding the agents, besides being able to create a whole ecosystem of agents, each with its own purpose, we can even create one that is completely customized, both with the prompt, with the knowledge base, and with the tools that we want to connect. Within this agent configuration, we also find the prompt generator, the prompt system, which is awesome because it's practically giving any company the chance to have a prompt engineer for free within the company without having to hire or contract one. And finally, the possibility to test all these agents in the test area to actually see if the information we've uploaded, the prompt or the instructions we've given, are correct. And finally, be able to test it within WhatsApp, within the conversation, to actually see all these responses and all this management that the agent has. Guys, I thank you so much. We hope we've given you the necessary information to be able to create your agents. We'll leave all the information in the description to access the sandbox, to open your Spoki account if you don't have one, and if you do, book a call immediately with our support team to help you with the activation of all these agents. And I'd say we have everything. Thanks again, Davide and Giacomo, for joining me, for explaining and sharing so much. Thanks to all of you for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.